Hi guys! Today we are back with another crochet tutorial. In today's tutorial we're going to learn how to do this stitch right here. This is called the wave stitch and it is so cute. I like it the way that I like the waffle stitch because it gives kind of a similar ribbed pattern on one side, and then on the other side there's kind of a reverse of the pattern. So we've got lots of straight lines on the back, and then on the front our lines are nice and wavy, but you can still see where those straight lines are coming from. They're just the in-between of each pattern. So we're going to get started on this stitch today. For this tutorial, you will need a crochet hook. You'll need some scissors. For my crochet hook today, I am going to use a 4mm aluminum crochet hook. I just prefer the aluminum. Just so you know, everything that I am using for this tutorial, I will link it in the description. So you'll need some sharp scissors. I'm not actually going to use these big ones right now. Your crochet hook, and then you will also need some yarn. For today's pattern, I am going to be using a Bernat Crafter Handicrafter cotton, and I will link that as well in the description. So to get started, you'll need to create a slip knot. The easiest way to create a slip knot is create a loop like this, cross the loop so that it's an X, and then with one hand holding the tail of the X and the other hand with your fingers inside of the loop you created, you just grab that free piece of yarn and then pull nice and tight. So cross over, grab your yarn and pull nice and tight, and that will make a slip knot for you. Now that we've created our slip stitch, the next step is our chain, our foundation chain. So for this pattern, you can chain as many as you like, but in multiples of 10. So figure out how wide you'd like to make it. I'm going to start with 30, 2, 3, 29, and 30. And then with this pattern, so you do multiples of 10 and then add 6. So if you did 40 or 50 or 60, it's fine, but add an additional 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you will see why as we build up the pattern. So the next step after you have your chain, which again, multiples of 10 plus 6, whatever you want the length to be in multiples of 10, then just add 6 extra chains. The next step is that we're going to do slip stitches. We're going to skip the chain that's on the hook, so this one, and then we're going to slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So insert your hook into the loop, wrap around, and pull through both. So we're not wrapping around twice, just that one wrap around. And then insert into the next chain, wrap around, and pull through both. And then you do that for 5. So that was 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then for the next 5 stitches, we will do half double crochets. So that's wrap around, insert, wrap around, pull through, wrap around, pull through all 3. Wrap around, insert, wrap around, pull through, wrap around, pull through all 3. And you do that 5 times, and there's 5. And then we're going to switch back to the slip stitch for 5. So insert, wrap around, pull through both. Insert, wrap around, pull through both. And then switch back to the half double crochet, so it's 5 and 5 all the way across. So just get all the way to the end of your project. You can pause your video here doing 5 slip stitch, 5 half double crochet, and when you make it to the end of your row, unpause the video and I will show you how to get around a corner. Okay, so we've made it to the end of that first row. You can already see why we started by adding an additional 6 chains, and here's the reason. Now that we added those 6 chains, both ends of the pattern are going to be the same. It's going to be symmetrical. See, we've got like an even or an odd number, I suppose, of waves. So it just means that as we build up, the pattern will be completely symmetrical, which is great. Okay, so now we've made it to the end of that row. You chain 1 and turn, and then the next step is going to be following the exact same pattern. So this pattern works up in rows of 2. So what we're going to be doing is 5 slip stitches for that first segment, then we'll do 5 half double crochets just like we did for that first row. However, we're not going to go through both loops. We're only going to go through the back loop for these stitches now. For every row, we're just going into the back loops, and that's going to create that sort of ribbed effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do 1 more, 5, and then we'll do 5 half double crochets just in the back loop. So it's going to be a little bit tight for the first thing we're doing here, but it's going to loosen up through the following rows. So 5 half double crochets, and make sure you're counting your stitches while you're beginning, because it's really easy to get lost in this pattern and have your waves kind of get off-centered and look a little wonky. And the whole thing about this pattern is that it's really symmetrical and it just comes out really pretty if you make sure to watch your stitches. You'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half double, and then we'll go back to doing 5 slip stitches. Again, we're only using the back loops, and that's going to create a really cool effect that you'll be able to see actually just at the end of this row. 5 slip stitch, and then 5 half double crochets all the way across your project. It's the same pattern again, just make sure to only work in the back loops of the row, not the entire top stitch. Again, this is going to create that really cool ribbed look, and if you don't really understand what I'm saying when I say ribbed look, have a look at our single crochet with the ribbed stitch variation. We have a tutorial that already shows how to do a ribbed stitch, so it'll make a little more sense. We have tutorials for pretty much every basic stitch, and we're working into some of the more fun creative stitches now. So if you have any recommendations, let us know in the comments, and if you like this, let me know also. So now we're back to the slip stitches. Work all the way across, and when you get to the end of this row, come back. So pause the video here, come back once you've gone all the way across, and I will show you again how to turn your corner to keep this pattern nice and symmetrical. Okay, so I've just finished that second row with my 5 slip stitches, and now to start the third row, you're going to chain 2 this time. You can see already we've got these little waves showing up. So now you can kind of see what's going to happen here. Here will be where we do our half doubles, then we'll do our slip stitches here, half doubles here, slip stitches, and that will fill out the dips in this pattern. So because we're going to be doing half double crochets here, we have to bring the row up a little bit higher. So when you're doing a row that includes slip stitches, you only need to chain 1. When you're doing a row that's going to have half double crochets at the beginning, you're going to want to chain 2. So once you chain 2, you can turn your work, and then we're going to do half double crochets in the back loops. So we're going to do half doubles, which is wrap around, insert your hook into the back loop only, wrap around, pull through, wrap around again, pull through all 3 loops. The rest of the pattern is going to be worked 100% in the back loops, just that first row. And 5 slip stitches, and then 5 more half double crochet, and the pattern is just going to repeat all the way across your row. Just remember to insert your hook in the back loop, because if you don't, it does not look the same. It makes it very visible that you made a mistake. So you can see already the change that's beginning to happen. So we've got this little bar forming, this wavy line here, and we've also got the secondary wave beginning here. Now we're at the end of that row. So our next row is going to be the same as this row, so because we work in groups of 2. So that means for this row we're also going to chain 2 and then turn the work. And now we're going to work, again, we're still only working in the back loops, and we're going to start with 5 half double crochets and then 5 slip stitches all the way across. So pause here, finish your row, and then I will show you again how to turn that corner at the end of this row, and we'll look at kind of the progress that we've got starting there. Okay, so I've just come to the end of that 4th row. You can see on the right side it's a really clear wave now. It's super cute. I love this stitch. But you can see the waves are now complete with 2 rows per wave. So that's row 3 and 4, that's row 1 and 2. And now that we're at the end, you can see that this was a half double crochet, so we're going to be working slip stitches here, half double crochets here, slip stitches here. So since we're doing slip stitches in these first 5 for the next row, we're only going to chain 1. Then turn your work around, insert into the back loop, wrap your yarn around the hook, pull through both loops. Insert to the back loop, wrap around, pull through both. I'm going to just do a couple more rows like this, and then I will come back here and show you how to bind off and how to finish this pattern. If you think of this pattern in groups of 4, so 1 wave, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4 in rows, you're going to finish on a 4th row. That way the edge of your project is going to have this cute little scalloped edge, as opposed to being like a flatter version, like if you ended on the first row of one of those pairs, if that makes sense. So do as many rows as you want, but when you're finishing your project, you're going to want to make sure that you're on a second or fourth row in your group so that your project ends up with a wave as the edge. So I'm going to do a couple more rows just so you can see what this will kind of build up into. And when I'm done, I will come back, so you can pause the video here while you're working, and then I will show you how it looks when it's all done. Okay, so I'm just finishing the final stitch on the final row, and that one is going to be in through the back loop with a half double crochet, and then I'm wrapping around again, pulling my hook through. I'll trim my thread. There we go. And then I will wrap around one additional time, pull through, and that's going to create a knot at the end of the project. So when you're finishing your project, you should always be finishing on the wrong side. This pattern has visibly got a wrong side and a right side. The right side gives you that beautiful wave, the stitch pattern that you're actually going for, and the wrong side gives you something not terribly ugly, but not actually a pattern. What I'll do next is just pull that tail end of the yarn into the project and just weave it through a couple of the stitches in order to hide it, and then I'll just clip it a little bit shorter, and then it's all done. That's all you have to do to cast off of this stitch, not cast off, to bind off I should say, is just basically cut it when you get to the end of a wrong side row. So this would be the right side. When you're crocheting along and you get to here, you wouldn't want to finish on this side. You would want to finish when you've been crocheting along the top and you're at the end but on the wrong side. So there is the wave stitch with a variegated yarn, and there is the wave stitch with a plain yarn, so you can see this shows you a little bit more of the detail of the beautiful little wave that we've created by doing these half double crochets and slip stitches, half double and slip stitch. So it gives you this super cute sort of honeycomb wavy appearance. On the variegated yarn, it's super cute also. The only downside that I see for the variegated yarn is where the walls meet, there's often a little bit of an extra with those two colors that I'm not 100% fond of. I would love if just these waves could be a different color, but we'll have to test it out in the future. So I hope you really liked that. If you did, let me know in the comments, and suggest anything to me. I can learn any stitch, and I know a whole bunch of them. I do have quite a few listed on the channel already, but let me know if there's something that you haven't seen that you would like to see, and I will definitely make it, because I like to do that. So anyway, again, this is the wave crochet stitch, and I put out a new video every Tuesday and Thursday, so thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.